Welcome
Welcome,
back.
welcome everyone to the show.
That's right.
Wild and Weird Radio Live. If you're out there, well, wave or something to let us know you're okay. We had a hellacious amount of storms that just went through the tri-state. Geoffery Steele super sticker. Thank you,
Already
thank you.
Thank you,
We
buddy.
will
I saw
add.
what you said earlier you had a Bigfoot encounter. We'll ask
Yes,
you about that later. And
absolutely,
we'll on the show with Glenn.
absolutely.
Yep.
We So, to let you guys know, hey Fish, to let you guys know, we've got a little bit of technical issues going on tonight. There's storms run through the area. You're going to hear there may be some issues with, audio. I hear one right now coming from somewhere. Joe, speak.
Hello.
It's you.
It's me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with that.
Hang on.
storm.
Let me see. Hang on, just one second. Let me mute you for a second. Make sure. Wait, it's not you. It's not you. It's not you. It's not you. It's Brandon. Okay, there we go. Brandon, you have a weird, almost like a white
he's
noise
muted,
sound.
That's a weird thing.
I just did it.
Oh,
See?
What?
Hear it? Yeah, you got like a white noise sound coming through. I don't know what that is.
Hang on.
it's probably our data feed. The storm that went through here did.
I'm not sure. Anyway, guys, get out there, like, share, and push this thing out there. Get us as many people in here. Hey, Shade, get as many people in as we can. We've got a legend with us tonight, and I don't. There it is. I don't use that word lightly. We've got a really special guest tonight, don't we, Joe?
Yes, we do. We have one of our best friends in the community. One of the people who welcomed us into the community with hurtling insults and shame mostly. But no, we love him. We set up the very first time we met this gentleman. We were at Creature Weekend. We met him along with our lovely brother Wayne Barnes. They were right there on either side of us at that show vending, and oh my God, was it trial by fire? But it created this family bond. Let us welcome the legendary Glenn Adkins to the show.
Legendary.
That's kind of hard to live up to.
Legendary.
Eliza said as soon as you said legend, they're talking about me. You know that.
That's Eliza. Totally. That's what it is.
You know what? That was the weekend that Wayne and I shared a room.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you thought you guys had it bad. I had to sleep around the guy.
Oh my gosh.
we learned what that was like later down the road. So
not for our audience to hear.
Oh man.
Well, welcome, my friend.
Guys,
Hope you're having better weather than we are.
Oh
you know
yeah.
what? We are. We dodged storms. We were supposed to have them for the last 2 or 3 days and haven't had anything.
Great. Well, that's a good thing. I'm Joe. Go ahead and fill in some stuff. I'm going to add Geoffery to our roster, and we'll roll the banner at the bottom.
We got Felicity over here on Facebook. I had to jump over and see. That's why it shows up as Facebook user. Thanks for joining us. Adam Good is here. Good to have you here. Spooky's in the house. We've got Larry Hose is here. We got Shade Viking here. We've got Geoffery Steele here. Fish Belly, of course, is always with us. Glad to see you guys all hanging out there in the chat. It's going to be a good time. We got a good show. So yeah, that first weekend at Creature Weekend, man, that was something else.
The thing is, Wayne is the biggest antagonist in the entire world.
Oh yeah.
And the thing, we were bantering back and forth, but Wayne, he said, "Hey, those West Virginia guys said this about you," and then I see him over there pointing at me and talking to you. It's like, Wayne, you just need to quit stirring the pot. It was fun though. I mean, that was once in a while you run across people that you meet.
Yeah,
you're instantly friends.
Yep.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yep. The rest was history, man. And here we are.
Yeah. You guys started out with reptile stuff, right?
We did, yeah. We started out with reptiles. Ron and I were doing reptiles. We got here's our super chatter lineup, guys. It's rolling across the bottom of the screen. Thanks to each and every one of you all for donating and helping support the show and keeping it free for everybody.
For eons to come.
For eons to come.
Theresa, Adam, Dewey, James, Spooky Appalachia, Larry, Host, Guitars and Chains, Craig, and Geoffery Steele. Anybody else? Did I miss one?
I think we got them all there.
We got them, right? Okay, cool.
We got Ada in the house over here, and we got Adam Good. He's hanging out. Spooky's with us. Yeah, man. We're starting to get a full house now.
Adam went to, and Travis is also, I don't know if I put him on there or not. Travis is also a sponsor at this point. These guys, they're gold members, by the way, just to let you know. I think Adam might be a platinum member at this point. Maybe even, part owner of the show. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
he's executive producer.
Executive producer. You've bought executive producer level, my friend. That's what you are. Man. Yes, Adam picked up one of the paintings this week, and Travis did as well. And those are going to pay for our upgrade to the computer. And I could not be happier, honestly. We'll be able to put out a lot more production quality stuff for you guys and moving a lot faster. Let's put it that way.
Any of those guys coming out this weekend?
Adam?
Oh, yeah, Adam Good's going to be there.
Yeah, Adam's going to be there.
Then I think from the audience right now, like Adam and Larry, I think are the only ones that are going to be there.
Hey, yeah, raise your hand if you're coming to the workshop, because there's only like 2 spots left or something now.
Yeah, there's only 2 spots left. We're
awesome.
We're about sold out, which is great.
Loving it.
And we're gonna have a good little crowd there hanging out underneath the shelter, rain or shine. Which I'm telling you guys, if
I hope there's a little bit of rain.
Watch any of our videos.
I hope there's a little bit of rain.
Yeah, if you go back and you watch any of our videos of us going out in the field doing the work, there's always rain, and there's a reason for the weather. We target it. Oh,
Adam
man.
Good, Adam.
I'm producer,
part owner. There it is. Executive producer and part owner, Adam Good. He's our own little Brandon Fugel over there. That's who he is.
Yeah,
he's fun. He funds our craziness.
And it's one of those things where if you go back and you watch all of our videos, you will see that we're always out there when the weather's kind of not the best. It's far from the fair weather kind of stuff. And we like it that way because you're able to retrieve evidence better in those conditions, and there seems to be just more activity during those times.
I agree 100%. You know what? Why would they think that normal people would be out in that weather?
Yeah.
That's the time for them to move. That's the time for them to be active.
I would think the same way, Glenn. I honestly would, yeah.
Crowds go away when the rain comes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything gets on the move. You got all this food on the floor that starts moving around. You've got amphibians moving, you've got reptiles moving when it's wet. I mean, there's easy food, easy pickings.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
Larry
Host. Thank you.
Free.
Oh, Larry, thank you. Thank you guys. You're freaking you're humbling us again. Yeah, there it was. I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it either. This is the only Sky Daddy we got right now.
No, he's right here. I got him.
And Glenn's daughter is like, what is happening?
Oh, wait, we have to do it again because,
Yeah.
You new guys who are just like, what in God's name is going on? I thought this was a serious show. What have I stumbled into? What kind of Twilight Zone nightmare? You can thank Adam Good for that. And then you can realize really quick that our podcast is very serious usually. Our lives are not. This is the only time that we get to actually not be so serious. Yet we know when to dial it.
We do hit the research hard, and we hit the topics hard, but we're able to we cut loose a little bit. We have a little bit of fun with everybody. It's like a big family gathering. We all goof off and
It's a lot of
talk
fun.
about the good stuff.
You
And
know, everybody who comes on this show literally leaves and says that is the most fun interview I have ever had, because we make it that way for them, right? So let me go over a little bit of Glenn here for you. You know, you talked about our origin story with Glenn, but Glenn contacted me a while back, and for those who watched the video, you got to see how that went. Those who didn't, you need to go over and watch it. It's a really cool video that we made because we went down to document some of Glenn's adventures, and we ended up having a few of our own, actually. But yeah, this is how it all started. Veteran Bigfoot researcher Glenn Adkins. Glenn Adkins is the creator of the world-famous Squatch Stick. Glenn has been interested in Bigfoot since he was 4, and he heads up the Ohio Squatch Project. Aside from lecturing about Bigfoot, Glenn is fairly private. He contacted me a while back to arrange an on-site interview and walkthrough of some of the places he had had his previous encounters. So while everyone else was getting ready for the big show the next day, we hit the trail with Glenn to learn about his past encounters and maybe have a few of our own. Whoa. Whoa! Did you like that little ending there? It was great, right? I learned that from the Skinwalker guys. No, I'm kidding, I didn't. But just edited perfectly like that, and I'm like, hey, that's a pretty good hook. But it was really funny, Glenn, because I interviewed you that night for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
And not any of that actual audio took. Not a bit.
We spent a lot of time there.
We spent a lot of time, but you know what? By God, we had fun.
There was a few drinks too.
Yeah, I didn't say it wasn't fun. It was fun.
You know what? Here's the thing. I don't. This isn't a job for me. If it's not fun, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And
but
if they came out and said Bigfoot doesn't exist, I wouldn't regret anything I did. I mean, I've got to spend some time with people.
Who cares?
You know, and also people like you. And, you know, there's all kinds of things.
For that, we apologize.
Good and bad with everything.
But no, I mean, but we got to go out on the trail, and we did see some weird stuff out there, right?
Well, he's chasing his ghost possum.
The ghost possum. Let's not ever. We can't forget the ghost possum. No, and I've got clips of the ghost possum here too. If you guys want to see it, just chime in and let me know, and I'll pop those up there. But Glenn, before we go into, because they're going to want to see the ghost possum, before we go into that, why don't you explain a little bit of how you got into all this? Like, what brought you into the hunt, so to speak?
Fourth grade, I saw the Patterson-Gimlin film, and I was hooked. I mean, I saw my fourth grade teacher 10 years after I left fourth grade, and her first question to me, did you ever go out to look for Bigfoot? That's how obsessed I was in fourth grade. And, back then I thought California, Oregon, and Washington.
Same.
I had no idea, that Bigfoot existed here before the internet, before the computers that you could look up stuff. And, you used to have to wait or look in TV Guide for Leonard Nimoy's In Search Of. And that was the one Bigfoot show that you could watch. And now you can turn it on and search Bigfoot, and there's 20 Amazon movies up. But that's how I got started. I met Robert Morgan through Total Lies and Deceit. I made him meet me. I told him I was a reporter for a Penn State newspaper, which I don't even know if they had a newspaper back then. But I met him, and he adopted me. So I worked with Bob for quite a few years, and then kind of life happened type stuff. I worked at I was a fireman, a policeman, had kids, didn't want to be out in public, when my kids were younger. I didn't want to cause them, because it's just now getting to the point to where it's acceptable to talk about Bigfoot. I didn't want my kids to be teased at school. I didn't want my kids to hear any grief from people. So it wasn't until the last 10 or 12 years, I started doing different stuff in public. Um, but I've always had the interest. When I worked with Bob, I had a visual sighting. I've had screams. I've had tracks. We had multiple encounters, multiple times, um, and Bob showed us how to do it. Bob was just one of those guys who he lived it. Between the books that he wrote and the other things that he did, I mean, we had encountered with a family of Bigfoot for about an 18-month to 24-month period. It took that long for them to show themselves to us.
Now wait. I'm going to stop you because there's a lot of people here who didn't quite probably understand that.
But, sorry.
But you're saying that you guys kind of went in and got accepted by these beings, right?
Right. What we did, and it's in Bob's book, the Bigfoot Pocket Manual that he has out. Have you guys ever seen that book?
Yeah.
Okay, the Bigfoot Pocket Manual he had, and we were the guinea pigs for this book he wrote. My wife, Steve Jones, myself, there are a couple other people in and out, but we found a location. We went there. We had success hearing some tree knocks, hearing some whoops. We gifted with them. And we followed everything that the Native American tribes had taught Robert to do. And we got to the point to where we wore the same, we would all have something red on, for instance. We would play the same music. One of our favorites was Carlos Nakai. He played a flute, an old Indian flute. I still have his recordings on my phone. We would play those at night. Now, the cave I'm referring to, we would go back there. Back then, you could go into that cave. We would sit in that cave, play Carlos Nakai flute music, have a fire, and sit all night long. And one of the most awesome spiritual things almost that you could ever do. And we gave them their area. They gave us our area. They had plenty of shots at us. I mean, we would sleep out on the ground at night. They played with us. They threw rocks on top of our. Steve had a Ford truck. Remember the aluminum caps that used to go on top?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. When you're asleep or just fall asleep in the back of one of those trucks and a rock lands on top of it,
oh man,
it brings you out. So, those type of things would happen. As soon as it would hit and wake us up, we'd bounce out, and you could hear it running up the hill. And this happened all the time. We didn't, push. We didn't. We kind of let them lead type stuff. But I mean, we had a great time. It was a great relationship. It was a great experience for me.
Yeah, that's, pretty fantastic because you guys were actually doing something with research that no one else had actually done at that point.
No one had done it.
Let's make sure that we put that. You are a pioneer in this field.
Well,
I'm
old, but I don't.
I didn't say an ancient pioneer, but you're.
Bob. I love how researchers come out and say, there's one in particular. Well, I was the first one to talk about wood knocks.
No.
This has been going on hundreds of years. People.
Sure, it's all been rediscovered multiple times by other people.
Well,
but no one.
Speaking of wood knocks, since we're going to be out in the woods Saturday, people are going to need to bring some cash with them if they're going to pick up one of your Squatch sticks. How much are you going to be selling the Squatch sticks that you're bringing with you?
I will drop the price. I'll sell them for $40.
Alrighty.
But we'll give one away too.
Sweet.
We'll give one away.
Mine's autographed. That cost me an extra $20 right there.
You lost value on it there.
Right there.
Yeah. And these are custom-made bats, guys. These aren't repurposes. These are custom-made bats that Glenn has made, and
they're the same ones they used on Finding Bigfoot, and that you see Cliff use on TV whenever he's at. And
there you go.
Actually, I came up with the idea right at the same place we were filming.
Yeah.
I was up in the woods about 1:00 in the morning, and I heard a knock, and everything that I grabbed had roots, limbs, or broke. So that's how it was. The whole idea was born. So,
Glenn, I noticed with this thing. No, I'm
Just
not
how
one of
much
those.
set used.
I'm not one of those tree knocker kind of guys, but I have noticed that when you, this is a heck of a percussion instrument.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So did you choose like the whole thing? It's almost like it's tuned to make the sound. Is what I'm getting at. Did you really think that far about it, or was that just a happy accident?
what we thought about was basically the handle.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I mean,
handle,
this is
made the handle a little thicker because
Yeah.
there was an
Nice.
episode on Finding Bigfoot where Renee hit a tree with a Louisville Slugger baseball bat.
Yep.
And as soon as she hit it, she dropped it because of the
the
sting.
vibration, right?
You get no vibration, no sting.
No.
It's either maple, ash, or I had some hickory in there too.
Wow.
For professional grade baseball bat or wood. I
Yeah.
mean, this company that spins them for me and makes actually professional baseball bats. They actually have one of their bats in the Hall of Fame because the guy
so
hit
cool,
4
man.
home runs in one game. And these are the same wood, everything else that that they have, we have. So
And Natalie was
cool.
bringing up the Bigfoot guide, the laminated ones, and
I just smashed my desk with the
those aren't
Squatch
readily
stick.
grabbable. But those, I believe, were from Jeff Meldrum. He made 2 different ones,
right.
and it's a trifold. Those are really neat, and it
I've
is
seen that.
REI will have those set up.
You got to understand the thing that cracks me up about this. And today I was driving home, and I saw a guy in front of me with a West Virginia tag on his window of the Bigfoot hunting license.
Oh, I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and back in the 90s when I had my encounter and my sighting, when we first started going in the woods there at a state park, they would throw us out at night. If
Yeah.
they found out what we were doing, you weren't allowed in there. Mention
Yeah.
Bigfoot, and they would instantly ask you to leave. You would ask employees, "Hey, have you ever had?" We're not allowed to talk about it. Now look exactly the picture you've got up there.
Yeah.
They're making money off of it. If
Yeah.
you look at the Salt Forks gift shop, over half of it is Bigfoot related items.
It's all changed now, brother.
It's all about money, and it's all
Yeah.
about all the. And I don't fault anybody for it. I think it's great, but back in the 90s when this happened to us, I remember we held a press conference at Daring Books in Canton, where Bob was getting his first book published. Channel 8 and Channel 5, and they all came down to talk about Bigfoot at a press conference. We had more phone calls than we could return. I still have a stack from 1991 of phone messages that have never been returned because we just couldn't do it. Didn't have the possibility.
Wow.
Then came
Wow.
2 or 3 years later the internet, and it blew up. So all this stuff is really getting big and exciting, but back then it was taboo. We had to tell. We met a ranger who had several encounters, and we befriended him, and we became friends. But there was a couple of rangers who would come in and they said, "What are you guys doing here?" "Well, we're researching night bird calls." Okay, and they bought it and left us alone. Thank God they
You know
never
what's
asked
really
for a
funny
recorder.
is that is the same excuse that I give all these parks
Right?
because
And
it
that's-
works. Like there's the only time you can research whippoorwills or owls or bats is at night.
yeah.
So I always tell them I'm either doing a bat survey, I'm doing a study on whippoorwills, and I'm recording audio, and I always have a whippoorwill on standby. So
See,
that
you
way,
are so
if they
much
want to
better
hear the
than
audio
we were.
back, I can rip off a whippoorwill for them that I've recorded.
We
Yeah.
never were that prepared.
But to
They
be
just didn't
fair, at this point, you can't really hide from it anymore.
Well,
Yeah,
and now you go
That's
out
true. I can't.
and some of the rangers stopped us one time at Salt Fork after Creature Weekend, and the lady, very nice young lady, ranger, came up and said, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "Well, she said, "Oh, you guys are looking for Bigfoot." Says, okay, good luck, have fun, and turn around and left. Where 25 years ago, we'd have been escorted out of the park.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy if you really think about it, right? I mean, what
It
did?
wasn't a bad mojo or bad,
Yeah.
you know. I remember in 1985 in Minerva, Ohio, there was a cluster of Bigfoot sightings.
Mm-hmm.
On the newspaper front page, Bigfoot spotted in Minerva. And it wasn't a picture of a Bigfoot, it was a picture of these two guys with shotguns walking through a field looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody feared.
Right.
People coming up with guns and ready to kill everything.
Well, look what they did at the Mothman, sightings. They hunting parties, right?
And you know what? And that's why we also did everything that we did in secret.
Yeah.
We didn't tell anyone who was not part of our group where we were going. We actually gave misinformation out.
Oh,
which is like crazy.
Totally. Yeah, totally don't blame you there. I mean, we've had multiple people trying to figure out exactly where Wineberry is and arguing about, well, I looked it up and it's not on the map. Yeah, it's not on the map. You're not going to find it on the map.
You're not supposed to.
It's a site name. That's how that works. It's kind of like Area 51. It's not really its name.
We're not broadcasting.
It's it's not, it's not on the map. So there you go.
Before Eliza takes off real quick.
Oh, yes.
Is there actually going to be walks in the woods at night this weekend?
Oh, yes, there will be.
And they're so far out of cell reception and away from roads, it's not funny.
Yes.
Because absolutely not. Like,
are you going to be okay? Will you be okay?
So like the only network that works out there is the Sirens system, and that is what like emergency operators use. Your dad can tell you all about Siren.
Typically, it's up on the ridge pretty far before you get a signal. We won't be there. We'll be down in a valley to where we'll be surrounded on all sides. So
we're going to be in a nice little box canyon.
Right. Yeah. So if anything's up on the left and right of us flanking us in,
we're up the hill and see if we get reception.
I wouldn't go up that hill if I were you. But no, I'm messing with you completely.
You're going to have a great time.
You're going to have a great time.
While we have you here with us hanging out, tell us about your first encounter. Your first encounter. Skip your first encounter with us and go to the second.
Don't talk about that.
That's in the
that could bring up legal problems. Let's not do that, dear. Thank you.
So tell us about how your first night out with your dad actually doing a little bit of walking around the woods went.
It was like, I think I was in 5th grade.
Oh, he's talking about when we went out there, when Salt Fork.
Yeah, Salt Fork when we went out there.
Oh.
Did you think you could have a good time, bad time?
It was fun.
Besides being afraid of Joe and not getting too close to the
Yeah.
That's what, make sure you're carrying one of those around.
That's where Squatch Project comes in.
In case.
It was fun, and it was really cool to see those things in the sky.
You like that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she is one of the witnesses that we keep telling you about, among others, who actually have seen these things. They are very, very real, and I believe I speak for just about everybody else when we say we don't know what in the world that was. But what she's referring to is what happened I believe, right here.
There were lights over there.
Okay. As soon as Glenn mentioned lights, things began to get a little weird and a little synchronous.
And
I've got a light point moving straight that way. I'm tracking it right now. So, this was just charged. I just charged this.
This was fully charged. It's almost at a quarter battery.
Several pieces of our equipment began to experience battery. So we lost a battery. You were there for that too. You got to see that. Matter of fact, you were filming with me when the camera finally killed out, and we had to say, well, we're done. But you got to see that. And what was really remarkable, Glenn, I don't know if you got to see this footage or not, but a little bit later, I compared the original UAP that we caught over Logan with the Salt Fork.
Mm-hmm.
It's nearly identical.
That's
Here
cool.
it is side by side.
Look at this. That's Salt Fork. This is last year, Logan. Those things are moving.
Both of them went horizon to
Look at that.
horizon in about 5.5 seconds.
Look at that speed.
I have no idea.
I don't either. But what I was so grateful for, man, was you had who was it that was out there with us?
Mike, he's my partner in crime. Mike goes everywhere with me, and
he was
going to come down to West Virginia too. He's coming.
Sweet. I was going to say
he was amazed. Yeah, he was absolutely amazed with this.
He's a science teacher.
Exactly, which was even better because he looked at me and said, "I know what's up there."
And he told me that, even when it comes to the Bigfoot stuff, he, how does he put it, optimistically pessimistic.
Yeah.
And I told him, I don't want you to believe anything I say. I want you to believe what
you see and what the data says. That's what you want.
And that's why I was glad she got to see stuff like that. She got to, experience different stuff. And, it's like I told you last time I talked to you, going out in the woods at night is an adrenaline rush. I don't care who you are, and if you're not excited about it, then you probably shouldn't go. Then stay home. There's no reason to. It's just fun. And Eliza's starting to experience that type of stuff, and that makes it pretty cool for me.
Yeah.
We're going to have the whole valley pretty much lit up out there for you kids, so you're going to be all right.
Either that or you're going to be bait, one of the two.
You're not going to be bait. Don't listen to him. He's fine.
Bait's okay. I have another daughter.
So
I'm the favorite daughter.
It sounds like it.
My other daughter who logged into this.
She's watching right now.
She's watching? Okay.
Yeah, this right here.
Yeah.
Slay.
Oh, I see now. Slay.
Yeah. She knows I'm the favorite, though.
So what was really funny is while we were there, we were very fortunate enough to actually catch some other data, because I know that one of a very, very popular individual in the UFO field had suggested that these may be bats, even though it was, originally like 30-some degrees when we got the first one out there in Logan, right? But we managed to catch a bat, and we can see what a bat looks like compared to what we have. And you can see the wings moving. That's a bat. Night and day. That's pretty much night and day.
But the only thing, he wasn't saying that what we had was a bat.
No, he did not. He said it's the only logical thing I can think of.
Yeah, he said the only logical thing I can pin on it would be a bat, but he said it's not even really moving like a bat.
Yeah.
And
not erratic at all.
Right.
No.
So, but he said it's the only thing that time of night would be moving and that kind of speed would look that small.
Which is true.
It was close, but it was not. This thing was, as you could tell, like when we showed him some of the other ones where it was going behind the clouds, he was just like, yeah, I don't know what to make of that one.
Yeah. And, that's pretty wild, right?
Yeah. That's Ben Hansen is who knows.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty cool guy. I like him.
Yeah, he really was.
He was very down to earth.
Where we were at Saltport, that whole thing between the light shows that they've had there, and if you Google that place, you will actually see a lot of EVPs, ghost encounters.
Near the cave, right?
And up on Bigfoot Ridge.
The ridge.
On Bigfoot Ridge, they have the whole thing there. But that cemetery, we're right below where we were at.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of just weird things go on there.
Hey, we didn't get the audio, remember? Because it messed up. Tell them about what happened out there, because that was an incredible story, and we don't have that. We didn't get to put that in the video at all.
Which story?
The one about they were out near the cemetery, and something ran or something, or there was a sound up on the hill.
There was a group probably a couple years before I met you guys. They were doing I met them at a conference somewhere. They did paranormal things, which totally freaks me out. I'll go in the woods looking for 8-foot hairy things, but I got no reason to look for a ghost. I don't, But they were with me in the cemetery doing what they do, and I was doing what I do. And right where I showed you where that stick was broken or that tree was snapped off, we were looking at it. And as we're looking at it, we hear something up on the hill. So one of the guys and myself, it was just starting to get dark. We started walking down through this little ravine where the creek was and started up that hill. And all of a sudden, we started getting screamed at by the people back behind us. You know, hey guys, that's not cool. You almost hit us. That would, you're going to hurt somebody. And it was Patrick that was with me. I'm like, Patrick, what did you do? He said, I didn't do anything. So we walked back and we're like, what are you guys yelling? He says, you threw that stick. I'm like, we didn't throw a stick, buddy. And he says, yeah, you did. You almost hit her. And something came out of the woods and landed right beside him as we were starting up the hill. And we could hear something moving back and forth through there, but never saw anything. And again, just one of those typical episodes, chalk it up to, bad timing and crazy decisions. It was, couldn't explain it.
Pretty wild, right?
There's been crazy. I mean, we've spent the night down there. I can't tell you how many times, and we've heard screams. We've heard knocks. We heard one time I used to get down there after work, and my wife was already there with Robert. And I was really tired. I laid down beside a tree right by where we parked at, and I fell asleep. Well, her and Robert walked out to the main road, Road 1, that comes down by the lake. And they started up the hill, and they got up about 100 yards up the hill on the road, and they heard something down in the ravine just start going up there. They later described it as something coming on its chest, like a primate would do, or actually grabbing a body of like a raccoon and beating it against a tree. And this was accompanied with screaming the whole time at them as they're standing there in the dark. Wow. My wife, being my wife, was standing with Robert, looked at Robert, and started down the hill toward the screaming. She took 2 steps in dead silence. And all we could think of was this thing, hey, this works all the time, and now this crazy lady is going to start walking toward us when we're trying to scare her away. And it was dead silence the rest of the night.
Wow.
Back there the next morning, couldn't find anything. I don't know what that is.
You did. That's exactly what you guys were doing.
Oh, okay. What's CE5?
It's communication, contact.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Contact, like what they do with UFOs, where they go out and they'll meditate or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what you guys did when you were in the cave, and with the
biggest things that we did that we have. And if you go online on Facebook, it's something called the Robert Morgan Project. There's a gentleman, and I can't remember his name. I have it in my phone, but he is taking care of Robert. Robert's very elderly now, and he has some memory issues. He's helping take care of Robert, and they got this stuff from Montana that was in storage. And I found it by accident. I was looking online or telling a buddy of mine about this at the library. He looked it up. He says, "Oh, look here." And I'm watching this, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's me!" Back in 1990, my wife. Back in we're on YouTube on this thing, and so. Somewhere in there, I'm hoping, is a video that he said he would let me try to find. We went up. I said we had a gifting site. We actually had a trade type thing. We would take suet a lot of times. Sometimes we'd take fish, hang it from a tree in a place to where a raccoon couldn't just come up and grab it and run. And as we were there one day putting it up, again, did the whole thing, talked to him. Across the ravine, a tree is getting pushed over. We have this on tape.
Right.
It's just a matter of finding it.
Wow.
So, they left us stuff. They would leave us stuff that was just amazing. And again, I think some of this is in the box of stuff that he has.
Oh my gosh.
They left a doll one time that looked like a human that was made of grapevine.
What?
intertwined. It looked like
That's wild.
almost like a voodoo doll type thing.
Oh,
But
wow.
they had left that there as a thank you for what we left out. And this stuff this went on for over a year.
So basically, you set up a relationship with these beings. Right. And notice I'm not using the word creature here because these are beings. These are people. That's precisely what we decided we were going to address this as, because it's a people. And if you read the book here in particular, you see where Robert starts to question himself. After he starts hearing some of these stories, and he's a hardcore, skeptic here in the beginning. He's a scientist, pure data. And then all of a sudden he's confronted with this other realm of possibilities that is just so far out there. And then he starts seeing all these synchronicities and these things that just keep pointing him in the direction. And he has no choice but to follow that data where it leads. And it leads to some pretty remarkable conclusions about these people.
Crazy things.
Yeah.
Crazy things. I mean, if you break it down, you have to go, don't you? All right. Well, she's going to go, and I just wanted to.
Eliza, thank you for joining us. We'll make sure everybody sees you. I'll put a little name tag there.
Talk about skinwalkers on Saturday with you guys too, because her and her friends are on a skinwalker kick.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Yeah. We'll fill you in on what all that stuff is.
We'll talk. There's a lot of disinformation and misinformation, so we'll keep you straight.
It's also been one of my nicknames from my military days.
It has been.
Well, look at his head. Of course it was.
I haven't always been bald. I used
Priceless.
to have hair, and then I just gave up on it.
I understand that. Easier that way.
Bye. I'll see you guys Saturday.
All right.
See you later.
I'll be available to sign autographs for you on Saturday.
Yep. We'll see you out in the field.
Sorry, guys. So, what was I talking about? Oh, you know what? You guys know who Ron Moorhead is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Sierra Sounds is one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
Yes.
The whole story of him being there, catching the language and the things like that, and that's more than you can look at 100 stories about people hearing chatter, not being able to understand it, but hearing the chatter with it. So you look at, they have a language, they have family units, they they move around, they're semi-nomadic. How are we saying that, this is just an animal like a bear? There's way too much intelligence there.
There's an amazing amount of intelligence there.
They managed to avoid us, which is more than I could do.
Wouldn't you? Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I would, we take the environment and adapt that environment to our needs. They are totally adapted to their environment.
Right.
So who's winning?
Well, let's just put it this way. If something were to happen today, there would be this catastrophic event on the planet, right? Who do you think would survive? Which people would survive? I'll tell you who would survive. The people who were able to adapt the fastest. You would have these tribes in the jungle, and you would have these, whatever these are, also surviving because it's just commonplace to them. And that's what you would have survive.
The Indians talk about them being their own tribe.
Yep.
When I do a talk, one of the first questions I get, okay, what are they? I don't know, guys. If I knew, I'd be so far ahead in the game. Are they people? Oh, they're some type of people. They're not a monkey.
No, they're not.
They're not, and I hear they're a form of great ape. Well, I'm not buying that either. Yes, I've heard of them moving on all fours, but mostly it's an upright. They have a buttock, a butt. They have a big toe. They have opposable thumbs. They have all these things that we have. I mean, they've shown emotion in some reports. you know, that they've smiled at me, or they've, you know, looked sad, or different things like. I mean, there's too many reports that match up with Indian legend. I
Yeah.
told my wife today, I said, you know, 300 years ago, and it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
We need the internet to get, you know, to try to match up two things, you know.
It's true.
And everything from back then. You can't think across an entire country the same stories without screwing them up. And
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are pretty much constant reports, aren't they? Yeah, get your questions in here. I saw a couple pop up there for a little bit, Joe.
Yeah, I snagged them and threw them in.
Go ahead and did you tag them?
Yeah.
Throw them up there.
No, they already went up.
Oh, sorry, I missed them.
Yeah, I just seen them pop up
Good.
and they went on through.
Yeah, Glenn addressed him. It was about the
Oh.
CE5.
I thought there was another one.
No, they were. That was Bigfoot, Littlefoot talking
This-
with Natalie.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
The only
Alright.
other question was what was a CE5, but that was covered too.
That was me. I didn't know what they were talking about. Sorry.
Okay, well, it's all good. Well, if you got questions, throw them in there, like I said. But basically, yeah, that's communication is what it is, Glenn. It's you making contact and then them reciprocating that contact, and that's essentially what you guys were doing. That's what Robert's talking about in the whole book. It just wasn't called that back then.
No.
And you know, and let's put it on the table because it's got to go there. Some of these legends said these guys came from somewhere else.
Right.
Now it's right there. Those are the old, native legends that says that, they dropped them off. And I thought it was fascinating as one of the reasons when he asked why. And it was basically that, when Creator decided to pretty much destroy mankind the next time, this is his replacement, so to speak.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah.
That was just like, wow. I mean, how do you can't make stuff like this up is what I'm getting at. Not back then.
No, and Bob was a good person to. He used to piss me off more than anything. He would make you think. I mean,
There's a ghost behind you.
yeah, got her pillow to go camping.
Yeah, I seen that.
But Bob would, I'd ask Bob a question. He's like, "Well, why don't you think about it? Let me know." I'm like, "That's not what my question is. Just tell me the answer, and we'll go on from there."
No, that's the native way. You
And he
think about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was really good at that. Used to aggravate
Yep.
me no end. But the book, it's gonna make you think, and
Definitely
you're
make you
gonna
think.
question things that you never thought you'd question before.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like I'm selling the book. I'm not, but there's so
I'll
many.
sell the book, and I don't have anything invested in it. I'm just telling you guys who think that this thing is an actual straight up flesh and blood ape. You need to read this book and listen to some of the people who he actually interviewed about this stuff, and you're going to have to rethink that. It's not going to make you say, "Oh yeah, 100%, that's what this is," but it's definitely going to put something on the table for you to look at that you can't unsee it, can you, Glenn? After you see it, that's what I'm getting at.
He told me the first week I was with him that you are not going to look at the woods the same if you continue this.
Yeah.
What do you mean? He says, well, back then, being a younger guy, I hunted from September 1st when it came in to, 10 below zero at the end of January. I was deer hunting or out in the woods. The things that you see in the woods now, the things that you are listening to, you won't see it the same. Bob took me out. When I first met Bob, the first night, we had a beer in Canton. And I told him about an encounter I had like the week before. I was deer hunting, and I heard kind of like I thought was a cat scream. But it made me, it scared me. And I actually left the woods. And I told him this. He's like, let's go back. So we went back, and I was hunting an actual cut through where the high wires run through. Okay, big field, woods on the left, woods on the right, and a power line cut through in the middle. So we went to the woods that I was hunting, and where my stand was, we found 3 dead raccoons, all placed between 10 and 15 feet up in the air in a V of a tree.
Huh.
Wow.
Tell me who does that?
What does that?
Well, yeah. So, from that point on, within a week of meeting this guy, I'm looking at things going, okay, I don't know if I really want to do this or not. I thought maybe he'd take me in the woods, let me see Bigfoot walk across the meadow, pick some flowers, and, I'm good. But it continues. I mean, between that and between the thinking about, one of the chapters I'm working on now is Bigfoot's point of view.
Ooh.
Standing there, I'm looking at Christmas lights. It's really cold. All the snow's falling. Everything's really neat. I didn't notice them letting the dog out. Now the dog starts barking. The lights come on. Here comes a police car with red and blue lights. Gunshots start shooting at them. How do you think that they feel seeing us?
Yeah.
All they're doing was watching.
Mm-hmm.
And they're met with violence. Why wouldn't they avoid it? We tell people our history. Look at what we did to the buffalo. You don't think that with a language that they can pass that down to the other? Don't mess with the white people.
I mean, yeah.
You and everything
We
else.
went through and we eradicated entire herds because the fur. Like they were leaving the meat. That was the
And the
thing.
railroad. We didn't want the railroad there, or we didn't want them to go on the train.
Right.
The railroad. So kill them all so we can move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, it was an
They would
eradication
just leave
program.
The bodies in the fields.
Yeah. And it makes you look at that type of stuff. It makes you look at things of we don't just kill to kill. I'm scared to death of snakes. You know that. I'm not going to kill one just because I see it and it's evil and I'm going to kill it.
Right.
They have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you dive bombing me? Bud?
She's still back there.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. She's funny.
But I'm not going to just kill one to kill it. And a lot of people are like, well, we've got to have a body for a Bigfoot and to prove it exists. He doesn't care if you believe or not.
No.
We got to kill one to satisfy our interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
To me, killing stuff like that is just murder. Like if you don't have a reason to kill it, it's just murder.
Right. I agree. That one guy who shot the one up in Washington or Oregon, Schmid or something.
Yep.
Got no use for it. Sorry. I mean, kill an adult and then kill 2 young ones with it. You should go to jail.
Oh, agreed.
And I heard you guys talking about DNA the other day.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Somebody kills one and they come back. There's going to be Homo sapien DNA in that blood somewhere.
I think so
That's
too.
what we've been saying too, and a lot
It may not be exactly our DNA.
Right.
Right.
Hybrid.
A lot of the results that have come back in the past, and this is excluding the Ketchum mess, but a lot of results have come back and been thrown out of the lab because of alleged human contamination, because partial human DNA shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And so they scrub it and they just like, well, this was contaminated, and they toss it out. It's no longer evidence. But I think this new DNA study is going to find that a lot of these samples that are properly collected using proper forensic collection methods are going to come back as being part human.
And I'm not saying that we are related to them. Oh, that's awesome. Ada's my hero.
There you go.
Ada jumped over onto YouTube. Check that out. She's been over in the Facebook chats for a little bit.
Well, that's awesome. Welcome, Ada.
But Fishbelly says too that Bigfoot has us well profiled, and that's true. Like there's a way to stay away from humans, and it's to learn as much about humans as possible, and then do the opposite of what they are.
that's why I think we were successful. Where just what he said about us as his profile. It took them a year to profile us and realize
Right.
we weren't doing things that were trying to capture them or hurt them.
You confused them, Glenn. No, you did. You confused them. It was not what they thought. They did not expect that. And then when they saw something that was acting the way that they did, or the way that they wanted to be treated, the golden rule, so to speak, when they saw that, well, that's why they decided to start making contact, or, establishing secondary contact with you.
And it was, I think it was entertaining for them. It was something for them to do too. And, people had, if you were there looking for Bigfoot, why didn't you get a picture of them? And I'm like, guys, I could have had a camera on my shoulder and I wouldn't have gotten a picture. I mean, because you don't understand that.
You're in the moment.
You're captivated.
It's the moment. It's one of those things, first you say it, then you do it. I mean, but, you're going to have those, the size, the surprise, the everything. I could care. The last thing on my mind was a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because your primal instincts kick in, your fight or flight. It's like,
everything.
Get out of there.
Yeah, it's like a squirrel and a bear.
You never, I mean, the gut muscles
primal fear.
Yeah.
I got your reference there, Ron. I got you.
There is no way to properly describe the size of what this thing is.
No, what you told me was just fantastic to listen to, actually, the size of this thing. And Bigfoot, Littlefoot made a pretty good point there, actually.
They did. They say that it only takes 20 years or less researching to go from flesh and blood to high strangeness for most folks. Now, I'm not what I observed was very much flesh and blood, but I have experienced really weird and bizarre things. I personally don't think that they coalesce. I think that those two things might be separated still yet. I'm not the person that's...
There's not enough data to say 100% that it's absolutely 100% related.
Right.
But there is data on the table. Then you have to look at that, and that's what you're doing.
Ignore it.
No, you can't ignore it. And if you ignore it, you're doing a disservice to your own investigative skill.
And don't, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not someone to say that...
Oh, none of us are.
This is or that is or this is the way it is. But you look at... There's some instances where, they say, well, this Bigfoot walked on this and then disappeared.
Right.
Bob had that happen to him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Bob also had where he followed their footsteps on this log that they were walking on and then realized that they had walked backwards in their tracks and jumped off in the middle and took off that way. So while you're over here looking here, they're already gone the other way.
Yeah. It's a bait and switch. Like it's every time that I've been out and had some kind of strange activity, I'm always immediately, first thing I'm thinking, what's going on that I can't see? What's this a distraction for?
Right.
Because
and that's why I told people GoPros, the ones that were on the back of their head.
Clever girl.
That's why we got a 360 camera, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we can go back and we can review these videos and we can watch, and we got a 360-degree view, and we can look up in the trees. We can look down towards the ground. We can literally look at everything.
Yeah, if you're thinking about coming up behind us with one of these things and finding our site and then pranking us, we're going to make you famous.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We will make you famous, I swear.
There's my weekend
Chris Kelly
plan.
said you hunt public land without camo, and you can watch people walk by. Just don't move.
Yep.
But some will start looking, and will still have the sense. Yeah.
100%.
It's true. Mm-hmm. You can go out and hunt public land. I've done it before. Or even just going out hiking. I've spent more time out hiking than hunting at this point when we're out working. And I have been on multiple occasions within 50 feet of another person walking on the trail, and they had no clue that I was there. And I was wearing like olive drab, OD green in the summer. And people would walk by, and I had a shirt on that said staff across the shoulders when it was really, really hot. So it was just like a dark green T-shirt. People would walk by and have no clue that I was there, and I would come down on the trail, and they would void their bows.
That's
Like
unpleasant.
it was. They would get they would scream.
That's
People
unpleasant.
would freak out and run. Like, come on! And I'm like, I was right there, and you walked right by me and had no idea I was there.
Well, when people get self-absorbed in something that they're doing or they're in their own mind, that's easy, right? I mean, we've all done that.
Yep.
And these guys are very good at what they do.
Yeah.
Bob used to explain to people, let's take a Navy SEAL team, okay, or a Rangers or a unit or something like that. Give them the same enzyme that allows them to browse that a black bear does. Double their size, double their strength, make them immune to the weather, and give them better sight at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And tell them the only thing we want you to do is avoid people.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I could probably do that with all those, and that's what they have.
Yeah.
So Natalie says, does anyone have any theories about why Bigfoot seems to dislike most dogs?
Because they're so loud.
I don't know, but we actually heard that. I mean,
yeah.
I've heard of dogs don't like them.
Yeah, see, my dog.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
When my wife and I found that one track in January, my dog was with us. We were all walking out doing a hike, and all of a sudden Rose tucked tail and was trying to hide behind me and pull me and Kelly back towards the truck, which was like a mile and a half away. And it's 19 degrees. The dog's got her vest on, and she's like, I'm done. Like, I'm out of here. We heard this big howl up on the ridge, and it wasn't a coyote. And the dog was just instantly, well, I'm done, because she's been around coyotes well before. I mean, like, we live out here in the woods, and so she hears coyotes running the ridge all the time, and she gets mad. Like, when they start calling around here, she's like, I'm going to rip you apart. This thing called, and it was way up in the bowl, and her tail tucked, and she was like, okay, let's go. Dad, let's go. Get out of here now. And I was like, calm down. There's everything I could to get her to chill out. And it got so bad that I actually took her and Kelly, after I poured the plaster, I took her and Kelly back to the vehicle and then sprinted out back to that plaster cast so that way nothing would happen to it. And I sat and waited for it to dry.
She acted funny that day when we were up there at your camp, the farm, with that incident.
Like whatever these things are.
No, she was actually terrified that day.
I've heard of, 100-pound shepherds and Dobermans and all these big, huge, vicious dogs that would eat people if you wanted them to.
Just shut up.
Not only that, but the guy had 2 of them that he let out, that took off toward whatever it was in the woods, turned around and came back and had a total attitude change the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to, they just cowered.
Oh, there's definitely something there.
That's, but also I've had reports of people saying that they actually have seen Bigfoot with a dog walking beside it. Like
I've heard of people who hear the Bigfoot calling out and they instantly wet themselves, like without being afraid. It's just like something triggers in their body, that shuts them down. It could be the same thing with dogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it's just a certain frequency they're screaming.
Littlefoot said they'll send us some data from 1978 to current day, and if presented correctly, it'll help pull the UFO Bigfoot topic from their perspective right here in the tri-state.
Well, I mean, it's there. I mean,
it's data.
We've seen a lot of stuff.
When it
comes to the Bigfoot UFO connection, that's the way a lot of people will put it. If you look at the sighting reports, there's visual differences, and that's just looking at the data. and you'll get visual differences between the.
You're talking about the creatures themselves, right?
Yep. Between.
Yeah, there's a visual difference. It's a clear visual difference too. You have the longer arms. You have the weird
glowing
beak.
eyes.
Yep.
You have
actual glowing eyes, not illuminated
Right.
by a light, but actually emitting light sometimes,
And
or
then
perceived as such. I should say.
also like you'll have they're much more lanky and gaunt looking than
It's just not quite right.
yeah. But yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that as well.
Definitely,
That's,
definitely.
There's compare and contrast with what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of those, or some of those sightings, some of the sightings actually are misidentified. It was a bear, and they said it was a Bigfoot. Or in return, I think that some of these other sightings of other things could have been Bigfoot, where they said it was something else.
Well, we used to think that about a certain D word, and
Yeah.
I mean, honest to goodness, I would fight you over it. I thought that I was 100% right. These are just misidentified Bigfoot sightings. I don't think they are at all. I think there's something very wrong out there, and it's walking around or whatever it's doing. But that's not a
There are some things
Bigfoot.
that I never want to see.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ada, since you're coming this weekend, Ada's going to be at the workshop. If you want to bring something like that, you absolutely can. Just try to bring like fresh apples, not something from the grocery store or something like that. I'll probably bring some stuff so you don't have to, if that works. It's up to you though. Bigfoot Littlefoot says, I've got maps, 20 years of UFO info and 20 years of Bigfoot info and how they overlap. That'd be really cool to see.
There you go. That's
We've
what
got
I'm
maps
talking
as
about.
well, and I want to see how they correlate.
They just, yep, exactly.
That'd be cool.
Adam Good says,
Yeah.
Dog Man.
Why did you do that, Adam? And don't say because you're executive producer and you can.
He is the sponsor.
He's executive producer. You keep forgetting the title has changed. Just
That's right.
Yeah, have you
He's
guys
the
ever met
executive
Jody
producer.
What's that, bud?
You ever met Jody Cook?
Oh, yeah.
He was on the show once.
Yeah, we had
Oh,
Jody on the
okay.
show once.
Okay. Jody used to be a Bigfoot
Yeah.
guy, but he switched to all Dogman stuff.
I don't think it's all that, but there's something there, bud. I just don't know what it is. I mean,
The Dogman topic freaks me out. 'Cause if you look at it, like I've said it before, if you look for it, it looks for you back.
they ask why I won't say the word. I won't say the word because I'm not gonna. I'm one of those people who believes that what you did out there with the cave, for example.
Yeah.
That comes from energy. That comes from what you have put out, so to speak. You have goodwill. You're inviting that goodwill to return. With this thing, you don't want to invite that thing, period. So I don't even want to think about it. So I don't know what it is, but I don't want to deal with it.
I agree 100%. That's
Natalie
what I said
says
about
science has
those.
now found that dogs
Yeah.
can sense and respond to magnetic fields. That's not surprising. Like we've known
No.
that a lot of other animals have that ability. Dogs having that makes perfect sense.
Natalie
Yes.
has hit on a point that I've been talking about, that people always bring up why with all the cameras do they not have pictures of Bigfoot or good pictures of Bigfoot? Dogs can sense this. They're training them in the military to sense that type of thing
Yep.
for roadside bombs and things like that. If you get a lot of times you get a trail cam picture, that deer is looking at the camera.
It is directly at the camera. Bear
So-
the same way.
So if they're picking it up, let's just say that another animal or whatever it is like Bigfoot can pick that up and just avoid it, which is what they're training simple dogs to do now.
Yeah, they are. Speaking makes it
Yeah.
real, a popular belief of many cultures.
It is.
That is very popular.
It is. It's scarily kind of accurate. We were on a thing there recently, a little video that Seth did, and we touched on a few unpopular topics in that. And by unpopular, I mean only with certain crowds. And it really amazed me that he put it in. But while we were out there, Joe and Eli and Seth had seen an anomalous light in the woods, and they addressed it. Now I didn't see it. I was over on the side filming in the area, and I, for whatever reason, it didn't show up on.
Yeah, you were at a different angle. Like
yeah, I didn't see it.
We were facing the point, and you would have been looking at that point at like a 25-degree angle.
I was looking completely away, like down, basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah. But so I didn't see it. And it didn't show up on thermal or anything like that. But they all saw this thing, and you can hear them talking about it and whatnot. But I didn't capture it. What about anomalous lights in the woods? Have you seen anything like that while you were out there?
We did. I'll tell you where it was. It was at Hossack's.
Okay.
And if you look across the river or the lake.
Hossack Cave near the lake where we were standing?
Right. Where we were at. If you look across the lake to where the old stone house is. And this was before the old stone house was open to the public.
Yeah.
Before they even had the trail there for it and everything else. We would see lights there, like coming down the hill.
What did they look like, Glenn?
Like headlights.
Like headlights.
I mean, they weren't, together like this going through, but they were. It looked like a headlight. And there was absolutely at 3:00 in the morning, in the middle of April or February or whatever month it was, absolutely no reason for people to be there. And we even, Bob would send someone in a car over to that side. And it's actually the road that leads to Bigfoot Ridge.
Okay.
Before it was Bigfoot Ridge and before all that stuff. And never did we find a car. Anyway, so there was no reason for that light to be there, and then it would disappear.
And remember, no one knew you guys were out there, so nobody was messing with you. And it was also, you shouldn't be out there anyway because you got caught, you'd have got kicked out, right?
Right. And a lot of those times, like I said, we befriended the ranger there that would actually make sure that nobody else was around. People will say, that's kind of hokey, that's kind of stupid. Guys, I look for a 8-foot hairy creature in the middle of the night in the woods that doesn't exist. I'm not going to doubt anybody or tell anybody their ideas are stupid or anything else. I'm not going to call you a liar for telling me a story.
No.
I'm not going to, you can't.
Geoffery, if you want to go ahead and start typing yours up and send it in, we'd love to talk to you about it since we're into the whole telling the stories at this point.
Yeah, go for it.
Our Celtic ancestors used to report the same thing. They thought they were fairies out in the woods, and they would call them fairy lights or some type of terminology like that.
Sure, will-o-wisp, fairy lights.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
These are it's a common thing. Ghost lights. Mm-hmm. It's there. Whatever it is, it's there, and you can't deny it. Swamp gas. Whatever it may be. I just wanted to make sure, because you said you've been in the woods a lot. And, I just wanted to make sure that while out in the woods, you have actually possibly run into something like this, because there are some who say they have never run into something like that. And I don't doubt them. I just think that, maybe it's your interaction. Maybe it's the way that you interact that kind of draws it.
I think that those are totally separate.
Maybe.
Which doesn't... I never had something scream at me, throw something at me, and then had a light show afterward or something.
Okay.
This would be more of we're sitting there on the side, nothing's really going on, and we happen to notice these lights.
Out in the distance.
So it's a case like what we've constantly experienced, which is you're out there looking for subject A and
subject B rears its head.
I think it depends on the person, like how observant they are, if they're going to have a likelihood of seeing something like that.
My friend, you just added a huge multi-year gap into what we have been collecting there on that data that he just said. And it's coming from other sources at this point, too, that it does seem when we're looking for one thing, something else happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, there's been a lot of times where we've been out in the woods and, I'd love to lay there where it's dark and look up. And there's some weird stuff up there. Now, it was probably a satellite. It was probably,
What did it look like?
I've seen all kinds of things. I mean, I had I expected to hear a boom one time with the green light coming out of the sky. And this was when I was working on patrol. I was sitting in a parking lot and saw something come out of the sky, and it was green. It was glowing. It looked like not so much fire, but it had a tail to it. And I rolled my windows down to wait to hear the boom. It didn't come.
Like meteorite or
I thought, but it was huge.
just
You know,
disappear behind the hill, or
Yeah.
did it? Yeah,
Yeah.
could have been a meteorite.
Well, that's just it. I don't know what all these things were. Satellites, or I'm sure that at the time before I knew about the International Space Station.
Oh, it's bright.
That I said, oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
there's
bright.
so many things to look up.
And then back when you were out there, there were iridium satellites, and those things put on a heck of a show. I remember seeing those.
Yeah, and it's just
Especially upon re-entry.
all part
Burn
of the
up.
experience.
So Fishbelly asks, how do Bigfoot know what game cameras are? You can't put anything out without Bigfoot knowing it. But they don't avoid feeders or tree stands, but the cams they avoid.
Well, there's a lot of theories on that, right? That
There
anything
are.
from the
Well,
chemicals in the housing to the sounds.
Yep, you got
What do you
smell?
mean they don't avoid feeders? I'm assuming that he's talking about deer feeders and stuff.
Mhm.
Which I don't know. I don't think that they actually know what a cam is or how to use it or anything.
Right.
I think that you're bebopping along in your living room, and all of a sudden something's out of place. You stop and you look,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you got to think these are made out of petroleum-based products,
Yeah,
and they're fused with glues.
and they've got the sensor on them.
And then there's a sensor on there, so there's an odor to them.
And
There's
the battery.
there's the battery. There's the electronic whir, and anytime they fire on to get ready to actually take a picture, you'll hear this faint
What's a capacitor charge?
as it comes on.
Yeah, there's a capacitor charge right before that
Wait, no.
thing goes off.
But
So-
with the sensors and the
Combination of
feeders,
scent, smell, and being
They're
able to
always
see
there.
that something's out of place.
I think it was Russ who said he had one time that was ripped off the tree and destroyed on the ground, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was ripped off the tree and like crushed.
Yeah,
And
so
there's
maybe
been
that's
more
another
than that.
response they have.
Then Natalie's asking, are there any Bigfoot researchers who use RF or EMF shielding so that they can get closer without being seen? I've
There-
known of
There probably were.
one group that built a Faraday cage around their tent while they were doing some research.
Did that do
they were
anything?
looking outward with a thermal imager, but had no results there. So I'm
I would
other than
say-
that, like, with
I would
clothing-
say that there's very few people who are doing that, and the ones who did do it were probably ALSAP and NIDS, and that's all pretty much hush hush and classified. I'll be honest
Right.
with you.
All right. So Jeffrey's report here. My friend and I went to meditate on this beautiful hilltop at sunset. As we were making our way down, we heard something to our right. We both stopped and looked. We just stood there in silence and wonderment. Then my friend asked if I saw that as she pointed towards what I was staring at.
Mm.
I mean,
Oh, this story is going to be good.
yeah, you were doing the thing.
Keep typing. That is your CE5,
Well,
basically.
yeah.
Basically, it is.
And it's not like a CE5 with the sense of like the intent.
No, there's going to
But
be
it is-
involuntary CE5s, obviously. You know, sometimes people knock on the door by mistake.
Right.
And I think that's what happens a lot. Look at what Beth was doing out in the woods when
Yeah.
she first had her encounter, right? She was
up there
distraught.
crying.
She was crying. Yeah. And then that thing like shows up. It's almost like empathic response sometimes with these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Part 3.
We kept looking closer and closer, trying to make out what we were seeing. We tried to rationalize that it was that it was dark and that it must be a tree that had been cut halfway down with a branch sticking out.
Oh, man.
So it's basically seeing something sticking an arm out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Adam says meditation lights you up to the supernatural. Yeah, it's very much a beacon.
supernatural,
It's
whatever
like
it is
lighthouse.
that's out there. I think it's just part of what we can do that we're taught that we can't do.
There's so many other things out there.
Man, yes.
You know, Glenn, one of the things that I know that you'd spoke with me about in the past was just about how you go out and you kind of just like set your intent.
Yeah.
You know, can you like maybe describe that a little bit for the folks listening?
We never took any guns or weapons with us, ever. I never carried a gun on a Bigfoot investigation. I've never carried really a knife on a Bigfoot investigation. I have a small knife in my pack in case I need to cut a limb for a hot dog or something, which is important. But, oh wait.
Yep, here's the last bit, I think. Then it turned its head and looked straight at us. We took off running. We went back after the fear response wore off to see what it was, but it was completely gone.
That's awesome.
Wow,
exciting.
that's a really, really good report. I'm actually Geoffrey, if you want to go and copy paste everything you just typed out, I know that'll be a pain in the butt. But if you could go and send that right here. I'm going to post it up in the comments here. If you could go send that here and then give us some more, as many descriptions as you can, you'll see the questionnaire. But then, you know, the location and whatnot. We don't want you to share your location here. Just share it with us in the report, and then we'll get back with you, because that's a really fun report. Like that's really good.
Where did they say where this happened at?
No, he didn't say where this happened at.
I'm not sure it was Ohio, West Virginia.
Yeah, we've got listeners from all up and down the East Coast who are with us right now. West Coast is still at work.
West Coast usually pops in right as we're getting ready to get off.
Yep.
They're always so disappointed, and I feel so bad for them. We told them that we're going to eventually do a really long episode where, you know, they actually get to hear us live.
I'm going out there next week.
You're going out there?
Willow Creek, Bluff Creek,
When?
Happy Camp,
Next week.
doing the whole Bigfoot byway cruise.
Are you for real?
So cool.
I leave not this Monday, next Monday.
Oh, man.
The Redwoods, going in the Redwoods. I've been going
Bluff
out
Creek
to
Projects is going to be out there too that week.
Crater Lake.
That's pretty
Well,
awesome.
speaking of that area,
I
guess what
did a
today
thing
is the
on
anniversary
Bluff
of?
Creek Project, just 2 days ago. So,
Alaska's in the house. There you go.
oh yeah, we got the west coast, the ultra west, as far west coast as we got.
I
She's
love
hanging
Alaska.
out with us.
I'd love to go there. I've never been there.
Welcome, Alaska, home of harps.
So,
You know what?
speaking of Pacific Northwest, guess what today was the anniversary of?
Okay.
Today makes 99 years since the Ape Canyon
Ape Canyon.
incident.
Oh, really?
Right.
Wow.
You know that Mark and Cliff were out there today?
Yeah, I saw his picture. That's what reminded me.
Yeah, Mark and Cliff, they've been out there filming for a Ape Canyon documentary with I think Bobo is actually out there with them. I'm not 100% certain, but I think they're all out there, and they're Mark took them to the actual site location.
No,
where he
I've
pointed
always
out-
wished that they made a movie of this back in like the 70s, and Charles Bronson would have been the main actor.
No, I thought
That
you'd
would have
say
been a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Charles could be the ape. I didn't know what you were
Sam
going.
Elliott needs to be the guy on this one.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He looks like a miner.
Geoffrey said, yeah, I didn't share the location on purpose. It was in West Virginia. And after we went back to her grandma's house, the grandma confirmed that they have been seeing those things in the holler for quite some years. Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
There you go. There you
Probably
go.
called them boogers.
You know what? I have a question about West Virginia.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. This will be good.
When I was a kid, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. And a lot of my pastor was from West Virginia. Most of the congregation was from West Virginia, moved up here. But we used to go down to West Virginia for different revivals, and didn't handle any snakes. Don't know anything about that.
Well, it's because there were only ever 3 churches in this region that did that. They were like, I wouldn't call them part of the Pentecostal circle, but they were like Pentecostal adjacent.
Well, I remember being down there one time and we were swimming and we saw a little water snake, and the lifeguard asked me, "Well, if you're Pentecostal, why didn't you go grab that?" Well, because I might be Pentecostal, but I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not doing that. But anyway, we were driving down through there. We saw a place called Booger Hole, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, Booger Hole.
Well, as a kid, Booger Hole. Our
it's hilarious.
Did that get its name from a Bigfoot sighting or something?
Well, we've got Booger Hole. There's Booger Hollow. And a lot of it does go back into that kind of thing, I believe. There's been some, oh, good grief, Booger Hole, West Virginia. I'll give you the exact on there, but
there's also a lot of places with the word devil in it that supposedly are attributed to Bigfoot somehow.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, man, you were actually, when you were coming down this way, you were just north of us a little ways.
Dude, I was like 8 years old, 10 years old. I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's out Rush Fork. It's one of those things where they attribute it to like reports of the boogeyman.
Okay.
But the boogeyman and boogers and wood booger, that's all synonymous.
I was sitting in a deer stand last year, or 2 years ago, with a client. My brother owns this hunting place, and he was talking about a hunt he had been on in the swamps in Georgia.
Yeah.
And he said, "Man, I didn't like going in there. They'd drop you off in the middle of at nighttime." He says, "There's boogers down there." I, of course, perked up, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" "There's just things there you don't want to talk about."
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, okay. But, I just came up with that whole booger hole thing. I was like, maybe that's what it was.
Oh, it probably was.
And there was famously Booger Hole was attributed to, this murder spree that went on, like really, really early in the state's like founding. But, the town was called Booger Hole way before those murders.
Really?
And it just like with like Booger Hollow, that one's out actually near our farm.
Oh wow!
It's near just outside of Lewisburg is Booger Hollow, and it's another one. We've had activity up there at the farm, and there's a lot of reports that come out of that area, and so. All right, so Geoffery says we live in the area of the snake handlers. Oh, man. So I'll tell you a quick story about the snake handling churches. Glenn, I was a minister in Pentecostal churches for a long time.
Really?
Oh, yeah, Pentecostal and full gospel, all that stuff. So I would go around. I was one of the people that go around and speak at those revivals for the better part of my adult life. And then I went to a church. It was me and the band I was in at the time. We were leading worship and speaking. And we were at this church. They had us come down there, and it's way deep south on the bottom end, like where Logan County, West Virginia, and Mingo County come together.
Okay.
And it was out Cow Hollow, Cow Creek, something like that, I think it was. And we were there at the church.
I actually know what you're talking about.
And so they had us come down there to do our thing, and so we were doing it, and the pastor came in and said, "Oh yeah, don't go back in that back room. We got everything you need out here." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, we're running low on some mic cables." We got there, and I guess like one of our boxes didn't come with us, so we were looking. So I go back in the back, and I found this box, and it was about 24 inches long and about 15 inches wide, and it had holes drilled all through it. And there was mesh on the other side of the holes because I thought it was a mic box because I had seen those old mic boxes where they'll just put the mics down on the top and you pull your mics out and there's cables on the bottom. Oh, and I went to grab the box and they said, "Oh no, hey, we got cables out here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I just leave the box alone and go back. Well, 2 weeks after we were there, the pastor of the church got bit by a rattlesnake. while he was doing the weeding around the church, conveniently on a Wednesday night, and which is a service night, you know.
Oh yeah, Wednesday, Friday, and then Sunday morning, Sunday night.
Yep. And so on a Wednesday afternoon, he got bit by a rattlesnake, conveniently weeding there around the church of the creek bank. I don't believe that for a minute. I'm fairly certain I almost picked up the snake box, and that's when they found all that stuff. But yeah, we made our way out of there because things started getting real weird. And like when you're a Pentecostal guy and you're like, things are getting weird in the church. We made our way out. We did our music bit. We spoke for our little 15, 20 minutes that they gave us the time allotted, because there were like 4 or 5 different people there. And it was like a shoot from the hip real quick and dirty, multiple speakers. We play music and then we roll. And man, it was, oh boy.
Well, I also grew up in those churches, and I could tell you they would sometimes pull carny tricks with that snake handling. Like they would milk them the night or the morning before service, so they wouldn't actually have any poison in their system. Just to like.
Oh, like you went to a snake handler church?
It used to be one. They stopped doing it, but they converted the old snake box into a place where you could bend down and go pray, kind of like an altar. It was like right in front of everything.
Church of the Holy Serpent.
Oh my gosh!
It exists.
Oh my gosh!
There was that Discovery show on TV.
Yeah, and it was filmed here in Kentucky
or something.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then that pastor that they featured in that show died.
Yeah.
You know, within a year later, he was dead from.
Yeah, man, it's Russian roulette when you're doing that. Like, they're not always going to play nice.
I don't understand why.
I always told people that the scriptures said that you could, not that you should.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference. Like, if you have to, you won't get hurt.
The crazy ones are the ones that used to drink.
Giggles,
they would also drink strychnine.
Yeah. And didn't they have fire?
Oh yeah, they do the fire walks. They do snake handling. Drink
they
poison.
had this bottle of fire.
Did you ever walk on fire before, Joe?
I did, but it had nothing to do with church.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, that's what I mean. You ever walked on fire?
Yeah,
like on purpose. On purpose.
Yeah, we were on the beach down in Pensacola.
Yeah, and you got dumb and tried it. How'd it go?
Or drunk?
No, actually, there was no alcohol involved. You said, how did it go?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like do the Ric Flair strut across it, but I made it across.
You ran across it, basically.
No, I didn't run across because they wouldn't let you run. If you ran, you failed. You had to actually do like a walk.
You failed. Wait, I want to know, was there prizes involved, a test? What is this?
You'd have to do it again if you ran.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a military thing. Like it was.
Military. Oh, so basically you were hazed.
Pretty much.
Gotcha. Understood now. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that.
It was more fun than hazing. I can't say it was hazing.
Oh, my uncle's in the Navy. They hazed him by strapping a 100-pound backpack on his back and made him swim across an Olympic-sized pool. He almost drowned.
There is a training exercise for that. If you want to go on to special forces, you have to be able to do it with an 80-pound rucksack.
Well, he claims he was hazed. I don't know. It could have been, but he left after that.
Yeah, they'll. To qualify, you have to do that, and they'll put silt on the bottom of the pool. And there's another one where like this isn't the one you have with the backpack on, but there's another pool with silt in it, and you have to swim across it. It's only like 3 feet deep, and if you stir the silt, you fail.
Oh wow!
Wow,
that makes sense for a stealth mission training.
Yep,
getting your equipment in. Yeah,
Geoffery says I walked on hot coal.
Yeah, see, and brings it up right there. It's a very spiritual experience. It's something you have to have your mind set for. That's why I was wondering if anybody has ever actually done it.
Have you done it?
I've never done it.
It was interesting. Like
I've walked on sharp objects, but not by choice.
I walked on Legos. Does that count?
That counts. Trust me.
I broke my toe on one of those before.
Ugh. So Glenn, back to the setting your intent, because we got off the here when we were talking about Geoffery, and then got into Booger Hole.
And this kind of brings us right back around the spiritual experience.
It is.
It's all about setting your intent. Yeah.
We would, like I said, a lot of times we just get out of the car and start playing music. There's a part in the book that I hate referring back to it. I sound like a publicist. But where they talk about going into this ravine type place with unloaded guns, but with the kill, kill, kill attitude. I'm going to kill everything. I hate everything, that type of thing. And that's what they were told to think about the whole time. And one of the people with them was, I think it's John Shelley, right? He was a psychic for the United States Navy that would douse for people who were shot down in the Pacific Ocean. And he had some crazy 95% accuracy rate.
Wow.
Anyway, whether you believe in that stuff or not, doesn't matter. He told them that when they did that, the Bigfoot family that was there moved into defensive mode, and had they continued, they'd have been in trouble. And there's a lot of hunters that go missing every year. You look at the guy who does the missing 911.
David Politis.
Yes, very nice guy.
Thank you.
There.
Hey, we had a West Coaster. Thank you, Natalie.
The show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Go enjoy your dinner, though, Natalie. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully, we'll see you back next week.
But I seriously, I always tell people they never travel alone. Okay, they're always with someone. That's the reason you hear the knock and the knock and the whoop and the whoop. And let's just say that Ron and I are out walking in the woods, and somebody does something to him. I'm going to get payback. Okay, I'm going to help protect them. I'm going to be there for him. And if you did something to harm him, I'm going to make sure that you never get out of the woods. This is exactly what they did.
Yep.
Bob has told people just looking straight at them in their face. He says, well, if I see one, I'm going to kill it. He says, you'll never make it out of the woods.
I believe that.
And I've had, when we talk about belief or not belief, and I've done shows and different things, and I've seen these guys, 50, 60-year-old people, come up to me with tears in their eye, saying, I killed one. I was sorry. I was scared. I shot it. I panicked. And it ran off. They have no reason to tell me that. They have no reason to come up to a stranger and cry. There are people who I've have deer hunted their entire life. Had a guy call me about Mohegan, which is where they filmed the last Finding Bigfoot in Ohio. He was hunting in a place that I know very well. I know the parking lot he was sitting in. He said he was hunting, and he told me the story. Came out, he got scared, got out of his stand, and it was all he could do to not sprint back to his car. I said, okay. I said, can I meet you there and buy you lunch? He said, absolutely not. I said, well, I'm not going to tell everybody or videotape. He says, no, I'm not going back ever.
Wow.
I'm never going back in the woods. I said, you mean there? He says, no. I've sold all my hunting equipment. I'm done. I'm not going back. Because what I saw there isn't supposed to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a lot of these things could just be that it spooked them. Some of those things could actually be also how we project. They also can project.
Yeah.
You walked into a room and just felt uncomfortable. Maybe they were talking or something about something they didn't want you to know. You get this weird feeling. I've gone into the woods that I've been in, 20, 30 times. And you just get this feeling of, I'm not supposed to be here. Your hair stands up. You start getting scared. And I don't mean, I just mean like, what's going on here? I don't know if they had a little one close by. They didn't want to deal with me that night. What the deal was, it was like walking into a wall. And, we turned around and we left. So it works both ways.
Yeah, I remember the guy who had the Hanobia incident. He said at one point he was sick of them harassing him all the time, so he took paw shots out in the woods at him. and he thinks he might have hit one because they retaliated and started attacking his house. They would like punch his windows and the size of his house, and
Wow.
to the point where it actually caused the house to rock. They would be hitting it so hard.
And those are the kind of people that I get a lot of trailers. I was living in a trailer here, and it felt like it was going to be rolled over. Look at the power that these things have. I mean, they're breaking off limbs. Bob found a elk that both legs were twisted opposite directions, like chicken bones. You know how you get a rotisserie chicken, and you grab that chicken leg and you twist it and pull it off? These two elk legs were done the same way.
Wow.
So you had to have something with an opposable thumb to grab it. But that's
you've seen the pictures of the deer that I've got, right?
I don't think so.
We're going to show them this weekend at the workshop, so you're going to see them. But it was a poaching call that I was sent out on, and we basically like confirmed that it was not a poached animal, but it was taken apart and like the organs were set aside and cleaned in the creek, and there was a whole half of the deer that was like ripped apart. And you know how the front leg of a deer is not in a joint, it just kind of it floats under the shoulder blade. That was gone, and half of the hide, a little bit more than half of the hide, was taken, which like you don't see that with coyotes and stuff. They'll eat everything but that. You know, they'll strip it down. They won't really eat the skin in a whole entirety. But this was just pulled away, and you can see where it was ripped. And then around the neck of the deer, you can see 4 fingers go one direction, and then on the other, you can see where the thumb would have made it all the way the rest of the way around. And its neck, like when we were dragging the deer away to the disposal site, like its head bobbled on a swivel because its neck was broke. And you know, it was pulled apart, like you said, like a rotisserie chicken. The back legs were pulled. That's how it was with the on the back end of the animal. It was just ripped apart.
Well, there was a thing on Facebook. I wish I would. That they actually taught a chimpanzee. Okay, and I'm not saying they're monkeys or anything like that, but the reason I say that is because of the strength. And this was a test in how strong are these primates.
Yeah.
And they would put weights on a machine, and they taught this chimp that every time you grab the handle and pull it down, you get a treat. They kept adding weight to it. And they kept pulling down, getting a treat. Well, it got up to 400 or 500 pounds. And this thing is just grabbing it, yanking it down, and eating it.
Yeah.
So, you know, chimps are big, large primates, but they're not 8-foot primates or, you know, modeled after a primate. So, trees that I've seen that are 2 inches thick, twisted. Crazy.
Well, you know how tough grapevine is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a picture that you're going to see this weekend at the workshop. It's part of our presentations on the road, where a grapevine that is as wide as my forearm, every bit, it's like 5.5 inches through the middle, is just twisted in half, and you can tell it went against the natural spiral because it's frayed like you know how a rope will fray.
Yeah.
It's frayed like a rope on both sides.
And how do you justify that?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't,
like,
because if it was cut with an instrument, there would be telltale signs of that.
Yeah.
This wasn't cut with an instrument.
Because this
looks,
thing was so thick that there's
the fiber's there. It looks like you just took a rope and pulled a rope apart, and you have the fibers. That's what it looks like.
Because if you would have took a like hedge trimmers or even a machete, you're going to see where there had to be multiple passes to get this thing to cut, and it just nothing.
Well, and then you look at, you know, deer, and I love those pictures that we get. Deer that are in the crook of a tree, but 15 feet above the ground.
Yeah.
You know, I can see a cat doing that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And they do.
We don't have that.
Those kind of cats.
Yeah, not those kind.
You know, something else to think of too about chimps. They're absurdly stronger than we are, and like when they go to war with each other, they can tear each other's limbs off if they want to. So just imagine an 8 to 10 foot tall version of that.
Yeah.
I can't. That's why I was telling these guys before that seeing it takes. It's unreal.
You said that when it breathed, it felt like it was going to pull out all the air around you.
When it took a deep breath, I mean, it was, it changes your perspective. I've seen a lot of big, strong guys. Like, you know, my brother owns a bunch of bars and nightclubs, and I've sat with people who played in Super Bowls and let me see their ring, and you know, that are monsters. I've met NBA players who are 7 foot tall, and you know, no chance, no chance
against this thing. Yeah,
it's like a fifth grader compared to body mass strength. What,
man?
Just it'll change your outlook.
Well, it's not just the height of it. It's the width and the girth.
It's everything of it.
Everything. Yeah, yeah.
You
I think that's the...
It's the total mass, everything that there is.
Of an unknown thing. Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. Yeah, there it is in front of you, and you have to rationalize with that.
Standing in front of me, it doesn't exist, and will literally rip me limb from it. Well, and then you look at not only that, but then the speed. You guys remember the hill that I showed you at one point?
Yeah.
10 feet?
Yeah. And you said it just kind of went right up it and it was gone.
Like nothing was there.
Yeah.
You'd have to put me on belay to get me up that hill. That 10
Oh, yeah.
You know, we'd had a report come in from this town called Joe's Creek. And they had stated the same thing, that this thing bolted up the mountain at breakneck speed. The way it moved was just like it floated up the mountain. It was moving so fluidly.
Wow. Now, that same location, there was another guy. I don't want to say his name because, anyway, he was there with us. He's one of those people that pop in and out of your group for some strange reason. The gods are testing you. But he was looking up on the ridge, and he saw something about 5 foot tall running across the ridge. And the only thing he said I could think of was, why is this kid wearing a fur coat and running in July?
Wow.
You know, not even registering with him what this is that's doing that. But it was just dead sprint across the, never saw anything faster, he said.
Man. I mean, you sometimes when you see these things like that, like you wonder why you're seeing what you're seeing. And your brain tries to make it something that makes more sense. Like him, like why is that kid wearing a fur coat in July?
Right. And to bring some, you know, I'm not denying the, I don't even know what you call it, the hoopy side of it, but you know, our justification of, or saying, you know, must have been a portal, or you know, he was gone like that. We are trying to justify something that you know, moves way too fast for us to understand, is way too strong for us to imagine, and can do all these things at one time that a human being cannot do. Mm-hmm. Even a professional athlete, the highest athletic ability in the entire world, they can't move with the speed and grace and agility and strength that these things have. So in our feeble minds, we have to say, well, it must have jumped through a portal, or it must have vanished, or that's the only way that I could say there's normalcy, and you know what I'm saying?
Sure. That's the only way that the normal even makes sense. What you just said, right? Right. Because the other is more fantastic. It doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means that that's the more unlikely part of it. Yeah.
I never doubt anything that anybody says. Like
I think that makes perfect sense, though. You just put it out there the way that it should be put out. Like, that's why it has to make sense for people who are saying, "Oh, this is 100% flesh and blood," because that's the only way it would make sense if it were 100% flesh and blood, right?
And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. But that's a good argument,
This all in front of me was a breathing, moving thing.
Yep.
And like I told you, when it breathed, it was monumental.
Yeah.
Because I remember that breath.
Yeah, I think some of the people who claim that Bigfoot disappear, I think they're just not privy to how animals in the woods can just disappear right in front of your eyes, basically, because they know the woods better than you. I'm not saying that all of them don't just possibly vanish, but most of them are probably just that.
Well, like he said, the evidence is kind of pointing that there may be two things out there, right?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Or there's either two things out there, or there's one thing that's very good at making us think that it's
right. There's
two things.
It's got us ripped
it's really got us messed up. But one thing is obviously, it's trying its very best to look like this other thing for whatever reason. We don't know why, if that's the case. And so that's where we sit on the fence with this. That's why until there's a little more data, you can't really say one way or the other that that's what that is. I mean, there's a possibility. Yes, because, like you said, the whole thing about we go out there, we look for one thing, and all of a sudden here we are on the trail of this other thing. Ghost possum, for example.
By the way, we had some requests for ghost possum earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the ghost possum incident for you guys who don't know. And we're going to explain it right after you watch this. But real quick, though, it kind of explains itself. So we'll kick it right back up. All right, Geoffery, here we go.
Hey, turn around and look at the trail that Joe just came up.
Oh, yeah.
Because while you guys were all looking that way, I swear it was like a shadow went across. Can't see it with that thing there. That's all right. You see how it's white?
Pull this back out.
It was like a shadow just went across.
There's something right here, guys. And it's moving. It's literally right in front of us. Joe, there's your ghost possum. So what Joe says at this point, he's looking at it there and he's like, well, I mean, maybe it's a shrew or something. And he takes off, he goes up to look for it. And he gets up to the edge of the clearing. He's about 20 yards off of this thing or so. And he's like, well, I'm looking at it. I'm like, what do you mean you're looking at it? And
a few feet from me, like I knelt down and I thought it was a possum or
it's possum. I'm like, what do you mean it's a possum? Where's he even looking? And what had happened is that thing I'm targeting is gone, disappeared. And about the same time, Joe sees ghost possum about 20 yards off to his side, which came up apparently to greet him, and then decided it's going to disappear. So, I mean, I don't know what it was any more than anyone else, but right after that's when we had our equipment failure as well. But you and Glenn went up there to look for this thing.
Well, I went in to hold his hand because he wouldn't get any closer without me.
Right, exactly.
That's it.
I laid my shin open. Remember when we started walking and I landed on that tree? Oh my God, it hurt so bad. He just kept walking toward the possum, though. He could care less about me.
Well,
no love.
Yeah, I heard you yelp like a little girl, and I was like, he'll be fine. He'll still be right there whenever I come back.
He's alive. He's good.
But
I'm trying to get this ghost possum.
This thing just took off. Like I heard it move through the leaves really, really fast, and then was just gone. I can't explain it. Ghost possum.
Get shirts that say ghost possum.
Yeah,
it's happening. Thumbs up if you want to see a Ghost Possum T-shirt. If you want to buy one, it'll be up in 2 weeks. Start putting some hearts up here, likes, and let me know. We'll make it happen. Ghost Possum.
I'm going to go get one made tomorrow to wear on Saturday.
There you go. Get one made. Ghost Possum.
Yeah, it was bizarre. You know, I saw the fur, like I saw the light coming through from the lights that they were shining from where they were standing, and it hit the fur of this thing, and you could tell it was like there was white gray fur there, and it was, you know, kind of longer, and then all of a sudden, shuffle, 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 this thing's gone.
Yep.
So,
yep. So we don't know what it was, but you know, about that time is when, you know, we experienced our final push of the batteries are dead, and it's like, well, let's get out of here.
The executive producer says he'll purchase a shirt.
Of course. I mean, the executive producer. There's one. But yeah, that was an interesting incident though, because you had seen the shadow, because that's what I was filming. Was what Glenn pan over there, because you had just came back enough to put into the story to make it more interesting, because it's all in the video. If you guys want to go watch that video, it's really good. That's investigation series number 2, I think, is what that was. I cannot remember right now. It's this episode. But what is interesting about it is you had just come off from back up near that cave area there where you had sprinkled some tobacco near the stream.
Yep. We'll see you later, Ada. You have a good night. We'll see you Saturday. Safe travels.
And that's when this whole thing began. The Ghost Possum incident. I think that's the name of it. The Ghost Possum incident.
Who knows what's going to happen Saturday night?
I can't wait, man. It's going to be a blast.
It's going to be a lot of fun. That's for sure. We're going to have a blast out there, regardless. And you know, now you've inspired me. I'm going to bring the flute. So
do it.
There you go.
Yeah, we're bringing the flute. There's no question about that. So.
Ron made that one, by the way.
Yeah, this is one I made. Yeah, this is mine.
Ron,
you cut the headpiece out for me. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So it'll be with us. Oh yeah, I got that. We're all good. We're going to do it. So why not? I mean, it's all about research, right?
Yeah.
It's also
have that there. We're gonna have the Wayne box with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all going.
Yeah. So good intentions. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
I think that it is important, like you said, to have that, to go in there with a clear intent, you know, we mean you no harm kind of thing. And I think you might get more interaction with stuff like that. Now, here's the other thing, guys. I want to make sure that everybody understands this right now. There is no way that I believe that we're going to experience anything out there. I want to make that perfectly clear. I noticed that someone had left a comment on one of our videos about, you know, careful talking about the show, talking about the Wild and Weird Con incident. I'm going to address that right now because I think it's important. We're very proud of that show. We're extremely proud of that show. We put everything that we made that year into that show, and we had enough people to come out and basically pay for that show. It should have been bigger, but it wasn't. But it didn't matter because we still had so many people there who had a great time, and they had an experience they will never forget. We met total strangers who all went away that day having something in common that they'll never get anywhere else. And it was fantastic to see. And as for being on the show, so to speak, when we were out there, that was shooting B-roll and testing some equipment. And that was another group that would be Hellbent Holler who was actually running the demonstration. And if I didn't trust them, they wouldn't have been there. They have a good reputation.
Yeah, and at the time, you know, they were vetted by us, obviously.
Extremely vetted.
But at the time, you know, Jesse was also the co-host of Wild and Weird.
That's right. That's right.
And we were working side by side on a lot of stuff. Yep. And then their stuff took off, and she didn't have a choice but to kind of break away.
Yeah. Jesse's seat is always there. If she wants to come sit in it, she can sit in it any time.
Yep.
She earned that right. But no,
they were there because we had invited them there the year prior. They did a fantastic job assisting with the workshop. And then we asked them if they wanted to run the workshop the following year, so that way it was less on
they
our
did a
plate.
great job. They did a fantastic job.
Yep.
And no one had any clue that anything like that was going to happen. And for one, I will tell you this. If I found out for 1 second, if I found out that that was some kind of a hoax, don't think we wouldn't have plastered it all over the internet.
Yeah.
We would have made someone very famous. That's a fact. And I don't mean Jesse because I don't think they had anything to do with it. I mean, if someone was pranking us out there and we found out who it was, we'd have made them famous.
But we put together this Bigfoot workshop series several years ago. We were excited to have Glenn down with us for this one. It's going to be great. It's one of these things where we cannot, just like with our previous workshops, we do not guarantee that you will experience anything. You will learn from experience. You will actually get to do the things that we teach you, and we will show you hands-on how to conduct proper research, how to do forensic data collection, how to do all the stuff you need to know for Bigfoot research and how to do it properly. Then we are going to go out, but odds are we're just going to be listening to night birds.
Which is what we did last time. To be perfectly 100% honest with you, that's what the first workshop was. We simply just went out there and we got to hear some great horned owls, which was awesome.
Heard some great horned owls, whippoorwills.
Different species of whippoorwill, which are rare. So that was really cool to catch. But that's how they normally go. I mean, that's it. And you may notice we haven't told anybody where exactly we're going to be. There's a reason for that.
The only people that know are the people who've gotten their emails. And everything else will be posted later.
And by the way, I don't even know.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
We're keeping it secret for a reason.
That's what I'm saying.
We're just going to let you try to show up and try to find us. We're going to see how good you are at finding things.
Let's see what kind of a tracker you really are. Let's see what Robert taught you.
Oh, man.
But no, it's I just wanted to address that, and whether it was meant, and I get it. That's a really cool feedback, and I really appreciate that because a lot of people would think that. I don't blame you. Don't because you don't know who I am. But here's the thing, I really don't care. And I don't really care what anyone thinks out there. I hope you all have a wonderful time, and I hope that you go out there, and I will promise you this, when you go through this, you're going to know how to do it the right way.
Yeah.
At least good enough to where you will feel comfortable in the woods. Let's put it that way. That's the goal. You're completely out. You're all garbled.
Yeah.
There it is.
You won't be having to hurry up and try to see if you can got cell phone signal to Google search something or try to reach out to somebody. You're going to be fine.
Yep, exactly.
The goal of this is to equip you
the entire time.
What was that?
My job is to heckle the entire time.
Yeah, and that'll be done, I'm sure.
Oh, we would not expect anything less. No, absolutely not. But Joe, you want to tell them what? Because I think a few of these guys are going to be there. So you want to go ahead and tell them what they can expect at the workshop?
Yeah. So we are obviously we're going to feed you guys. That's going to be one of the big things, and we're gonna be eating at the end of the day.
He's very excited about the eating part and the cooking part. Just to let you guys know. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a show in its own. But before that, explain to them what's going to happen when they get there. We're starting at noon, right?
Yeah, we're starting at noon. So bring do your own thing for lunch and then come out. But then we're going to have snacks and drinks and such throughout the day. And those will be provided to you. You'll have waters and all that stuff, cold water, because it's going to be a hot one.
It's gonna be hot.
We do have like a 40% chance of rain currently, which is exactly what we wanted. The last show that we did, or not show, good grief, the last workshop we did was it was right after a really heavy rain, so we had good ground then too. But we're going to teach you how to do basic tracking. You're going to be able to identify a few different critters by the time you leave. Then you're going to be able to actually make your own cast. commemorative cast that we've worked up. I sculpted a new footprint this year, and we're making a cast with it. Ron's got some letters that we've put together for it, so it's going to be a commemorative cast for you guys to make and take home to put on your wall and say, look what I did, Mom. And then we're going to learn how to do proper data collection, which is going to be how to set up a forensics bag. We're going to show you all the little tools we have in a Ziploc baggie that we keep sealed, so that way, everything is not contaminated. And then when you find something that you might think would be a Bigfoot hair sample or skin sample or oil sample, you would be able to open up your sealed bag, get in there, do your thing. And there might even be some of those for you guys that show up. Just, because
there might be some stuff that they get, right? Because,
there might be some stuff that you get just because we love you so much.
Yeah, there could be some stuff that you get.
We're going to, obviously, we're spending the whole day together. We're going to be talking all day off and on about different things. We're going to have different presentations set up, of course, but we're going to spend time actually talking and working with you guys and teaching you one-on-one how to do certain things. We're going to have prizes and giveaways as well. But then to wrap everything up after dinner, after we eat and after we kind of hang out for a little bit, we're going to wait, and right around dusk, we're actually going to go and we're going to hit the trail, and we're going to go out and we're going to put to use all the things that you'd learned. You're going to get to use the thermal monocular. You're going to get to use all the other equipment that we have. You're going to learn how to set up your microphones and whatnot for all of your audio recordings, and you're going to do it yourself, and you're going to go set these recorders out, and you're going to prime them, get them ready to rock and roll, so that way if something does happen, we've got it collected and you'll be a part of the data collection process. And let's just say something does happen because this is one of our workshops and we're teaching you how to do the thing, and then we're all going out to do the thing. You are all honorary members of the collective at that point. And you'll be credited with whatever data that we get. You're going to be your names will be added into the collective book, and
they'll literally be part of the collective after they're done with this.
Yeah, you will be part of the collective. This is one of the things that we require. Beth can tell you. Beth went through this process one-on-one, and you will be ready to be a member of the collective, because we're going to train you not only to look just for Bigfoot, but we're going to train you to look for Subject B.
Because Subject B will be out there. I mean, maybe not here, but Subject B will be out there at some point when you're looking for Subject A. It's just happened too many times to too many other people. And
B as a boy, not D, right?
Right.
B. It could be. Who knows? I mean, it may be every.
I would have been out in the woods with a 22 shooting squirrels. All of a sudden, I see the most beautiful buck you ever seen in your life walk past me, and there was nothing I could do about it.
Right.
Happened to me so many times. I'm just glad it was never Bigfoot.
More appropriately, you saw the buck, it walked in front of you, and then it just vanished into thin air.
Because it was a not deer.
And it had glowing eyes.
Maybe. I don't know. Whatever your mind perceived it to have. You just never know. Folks, you got any remaining questions here for the last couple minutes? Let's get them out there. Let's get them answered. Because we've got, we got a lot of work to do.
We do.
Ready for this thing.
Yep, we got to get prepped. I gotta finish packing the bags and getting all the cast iron freshened up and ready to rock and roll.
Mark says he'll be there for next year, the next one. So that's next year.
Sweet, I can't wait, man. Sheep Squatch, no.
Maybe.
We're going to address the whole Sheep Squatch thing again.
Maybe.
We'll just have to. What is it?
Sheep Squatch is from Kentucky.
No, it was from Boone County. It was from like adjacent to my family's property in Boone County, West Virginia.
Wow.
Now it was in Kentucky too. It spread. The whole legend spread.
I just thought it was where men are men and sheep are scared. I didn't.
Dude, no.
This thing, other way around.
It's bad.
Men are men and sheep are bipedal.
The sheep were sheep. It was a loose ram that had been a problem ram and kept getting out of the pen, and the owner couldn't keep him in, and he'd even ran like members of my family off the side of the hill because they'd be out hunting, and here comes this freaking woolly ram, because when domestic sheep aren't kept and shorn properly, they get like dreadlocks and matted hair, and then their horns get all gnarly and twisted, and so you can see where this evolves into. You add a little bit of alcohol, and now all of a sudden you've got a sheep squatch on your hands.
Hey Joe, why don't you pull up a picture of what one looks like just to show people in case they've never seen it?
Oh yeah,
Oh man,
It is pretty terrifying.
I hate this story. It's one of the worst. I hate this story.
I blame mountain monsters for why this story even spread in the first place.
It is kind of the reason why it spread so far, and then you can thank Bethesda for perpetuating
Oh,
the
yeah.
myth, because they're right. It makes a wonderful fictional character. Obviously, I mean, if you want something to chase around people in the
It's also
wasteland,
extremely difficult in 76. Like, it's way up there.
oh, it's up there.
Law-wise.
Yeah, it's up
Have you
there.
done shows with the mountain monster guys?
What's that, bud?
Have you done shows with the mountain monster people?
They've been at some of the shows.
they've been at some of ours. Not at some of our shows, but we've done shows like
Yeah.
Con. We're always there with them, and we're actually really good friends with Wild Bill. He's a great dude.
Wild Bill lived about 2 miles away from me
Really?
when he lived in Ohio.
He's a
Yeah.
trip.
He and I were having breakfast at one of the shows.
He
And,
is. Yep.
He started talking about this place and that place. I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? He said, wow, you know how he talks.
Oh yeah.
And he went on about Clinton, Ohio. I'm like, I was born and raised in Clinton, Ohio. I was there. It was like literally within 2 miles from me.
Oh wow.
It was just so bizarre.
He's a trip, man. I ended up talking. I've been standing out in the road for almost 2 hours talking to that dude in the cold back at one of the things we did in the beginning of the year, and we just hit it off. He's a great dude. He's got some sightings too, like real ones, legitimate ones.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh
really?
man, yeah. He's seen some stuff, and not just all Bigfoot. He's seen some stuff. It's good stuff.
He's
Let's bring him on one day.
He's probably still under
if we
contract.
could get him nailed down, we would. But
He's probably still under contract. I'm not sure.
yeah,
I could just I could see him sitting here for 2 hours. He'd be bouncing off the wall.
Dude, we wouldn't get him off the air. What are you talking about?
He'd have to go widescreen.
for this thing to pull everything I'm going to says it cannot pull the format, so I'm just going to give up on the sheep picture.
Good.
Aw.
But
Bah.
yeah, they're a mess, man. Like
Did you just bleed a little bit there? Because it sounded like you were bleating. Did you hear him? Oh,
I'm sad.
oh no. No sheep squatch. Aren't you guys glad you tuned in tonight? I mean, gosh.
dude, this show's always fun. We've missed some of our regulars out of here tonight. They'll be back next week. This storm came through and hit a big strip of the valley.
I don't think they will. I think they left in disgust.
They left in disgust.
Yeah, I think that it was the sheep
I
squatch.
scared him with the stick story.
Kidding. The stick. Yeah, it's when somebody pulls out the stick. It's
Tell
like,
him the stick story on Saturday.
you know.
Remember though, y'all, if you want
Oh, the stick story? Yeah,
want
right.
sticks of your very own, and you're coming to the workshop, Glenn will have some with him at the show. And
I'm talking about your stick.
He's talking about-
oh, you're talking about mine? Oh,
that you scared my daughter.
oh, that one.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
story. You'll get to hear it in person because you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
do it on the air.
She can narrate.
No. It's hilarious, though.
She can add narrative, but guys, it's been fun. Thanks for hanging out with us for the last 2 hours. We really appreciate every one of you guys, all the super chatters out there. You guys are all
And our
amazing.
executive producer, he had to leave early. He's out listening to Whitley Strieber right now. Apparently, he's making some big announcement. So we'll be getting the lowdown on that here in a couple of hours, probably.
Yeah. And for those of you guys who have donated, much appreciated.
Much
Scott
appreciated.
Eddie.
Much
Those-
appreciated. In fact, appreciated so much that after I get back from Kecksburg, I'm going to actually make you a new graphic. That's how
really?
appreciated.
Going to be a picture of me in the clouds.
Hey, I didn't say it wouldn't be. throwing lightning bolts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Glenn, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey,
Can't wait
thank
to see you
you.
on Saturday.
I'll see you Saturday, man.
Oh, can't wait. It's going to be a blast, my friend.
It'll be great.
Everybody, as always, if you've had a sighting that you want to report, head on over to wildandweirdwv.com and click the report a sighting tab. It's going to give you a questionnaire that you can fill out and you can send it in to us, and we will do our best to either A, get in touch with you ourselves, or B, if you're across the country or halfway around the world like we've had before, we will get a researcher in touch with you that will do their due diligence to get you get your sighting report resolved or looked at least. And if you want to help support the show for eons and eons to come, to continue it to be free, you can head over to our wildandweirdwv.com and click on the shop tab. It's going to open up everything you would want from us. Well, most of what you would want. There's so much stuff we still have to add to the website, but it's going to be there soon. But you can get something shipped directly to your door, and you don't have to come out and see us. It's a win-win. It comes to you. You don't have to see us. You get to keep us at an arm's distance. That way, you don't get our germs on you. You don't get our cooties. And then if you want to come out and see us at a show, you can definitely catch us on the road. We've got a lot going on coming up. Like Ron said, next weekend, Ron will be in Kecksburg. The following weekend after that, we are going to be at Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival. Then August 19th is Cryptid Bash, followed up by September 9th is Flatwoods Monster Con. That one's going to be an absolute blast. You don't want to miss out on it. We've got a ton of great speakers who are going to be there. It is going to be awesome.
Apparently, there's going to be some major announcement made there, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, that's what I heard for real, that there's going to be a major announcement and that we need to have the news crew there. So is it really that big? I don't know, but I'm not going to doubt Zemansky there. Raymond Zemansky's the one who said it. And watch last week's episode for that one, podcast episode.
Yeah, last week's podcast episode was an absolute ball. It was such a fun interview. Well, everybody who left in the room with us is going to see us on Saturday. So, with that being the case,
I don't know, man. You dropped out again. Try that again for them because I don't think they got a garble. We can hear you now.
I think everybody who's left in the room is going to be with us on Saturday at this point by looking at who all's left in here with us. Yes, Geoffrey, we will be at Hocking Hills. We're speaking at Hocking Hills. So, if you can make it out there to it, come down and sit in on our talk. Come hang out with us at the booth. We'd love to meet you in person. That would be awesome. Then for everybody who's going to be there Saturday, remember, you will be out in the woods with us in the dark. Anything could happen. There might be ghost possums. Stay wild and weird, everybody.
Could be ghost possums. It's very possible.